You are about to be locked inside the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to take you back in time to the mid-90s and talk with a Southern Miss Hall of Famer who lettered all 4 seasons of playing down there for the Golden Eagles, Marchant Kenney, the famous linebacker for Southern Miss, will join us on this edition of the Stingray Show. Guys, we've got a lot to cover with Marchant. So let's get things rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate
that.
No,
I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, I want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. Unfortunately, Heath is on vacation this evening. However, we are going to have a wonderful guest, like I said, off the top of the show, a Southern Miss linebacker who finished his career at Southern Miss with a whopping 406 total tackles, 46 of those behind the line of scrimmage, 7 sacks, and 3 interceptions. He was also first team All-Conference USA in 1996, and he was a team captain his senior season down there for the Golden Eagles. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome to the Stingray Show, Mr. Marchant Kenney. Marchant, how in the world are things with you in Golden Eagle Nation?
Well, doing great today because of that intro you gave me. I mean, I don't deserve it, man. Thank you so much. But I'm going to play that for my 2 teenage kids later because they've heard the stories. But now Stingray lays out the facts behind them. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. All right. So going ahead briefly and tell us how you think Southern Miss is going to do this season, because this is going to be the make it or break it year for Will Hall down there in Hattiesburg.
Well, what I love in the offseason so far from just what I've seen from Coach Hall, he understands it's time to win. It's year 4. Okay. There's a tremendous sense of urgency with this team right now. He's got a new offensive coordinator in Chip Long who has to prove himself here. So he's got a gung-ho attitude, and he's aligning what he's doing with this scheme to the talent he has at hand. We got a new defensive coordinator, Clay Bignell, who did big things at the lower level. And but there's a sense of urgency that I love. And as you may know, I know a lot of people know there was a tragic event a few weeks ago, about a month ago. We had the shocking passing by tragedy with MJ Daniels, and he was a fan favorite, beloved by so many people. I was blessed to go to the funeral. Lane Kiffin even came and spoke. Will Hall spoke. It packed the gym with this man. And what I'm getting to is Coach Hall knows there's a sense of urgency in year 4. And I've seen some recent workout videos and some guys just really getting after it. And you can just see, one of those vibes of like, do it for MJ a little bit, because he was a beloved teammate. And that's a spark you can't write down. It's just something that could happen. And with that, it's one of those things like a player, I can imagine when I played and one of my teammates, who was a really great teammate, good friend of mine, passed away before the season. And during those games and those workouts, when I was kind of down and out and tired, I think, like probably these players are thinking, MJ would give anything to be here. So, and I would too. I'd be like, just give you that extra push. So there's a spark. There's a little bit of something going on right now. And I'm not going to put wins and losses, but man, it just feels like something's about to happen finally in year 4.
So, Marchant, let's go on ahead and go back to where it all started for you. When did you start playing football, and when did you realize that you could really play college ball?
Well, I played playground football, and I do remember a moment because in 8th grade with the high school. In 8th grade, started then at Jesuit High School, but I always wanted to be a basketball player. And the basketball coach, after about my 20th foul of that practice, he said, man, you might be better suited for football. So I gave up basketball, and I remember him saying that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty aggressive kid. So right in 8th grade, and I just noticed the coach has got a kick out of this angry, wiry young guy. And, I definitely turned into, I guess you saw the stats, a tackling machine, man, in college.
So talk about your recruitment and who all was recruiting you out of high school, please.
So when push came to shove towards the end, I had 2 offers. That was Texas Tech and Southern Miss in 1993 in that February, January timeframe. And I had a great visit at Southern Miss, and they didn't offer me on the spot, so I had a Texas Tech visit coming up. And on that Friday, as I'm about to leave to go on the plane, getting ready to head to the airport, Southern Miss calls me, my recruiter, and threatened, they want to offer me a scholarship, but threatened if you get on that plane, we can't promise you the scholarship's going to be here. So I had to get on the phone with Spike Dykes. Mm-hmm. They were all ready for me to come, and he said, man, we're going to offer you, but I don't know. I just had that on the table. Southern Miss at that time was fresh off of Brett Favre, the giant killer reputation. It was a cool little place that fit me like a glove. So I had to cancel that and tell the head coach of Texas Tech on the phone that, my place is in Hattiesburg. But yeah, I remember I had one of those stories from recruiting where you got threatened to pull the scholarship if you get on that plane and go to Lubbock.
Now, Marchant, I do want to ask you, do you regret not taking that official trip to Texas Tech just to see what it was like out there?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because Southern Miss, my time frame and the way I was raised, my backstory, I had a tough upbringing, rough childhood. Both parents passed away before I was 12, raised in a boys' home during my teenage years. So it was kind of like I had this chip on my shoulder, prove myself against everybody. And the more I got to be around Southern Miss, they were like that too. Back then, surrounded by these SEC teams. There weren't as many teams as there are now. South Alabama, Troy, it was literally Southern Miss, all these SEC teams around us, and it was an us against the world mentality. So it fit me like a glove. And by the time I wound up wrapping up in 97, it just was the perfect story for me.
So, Marchant, what was it like for you the first time you met Coach Jeff Bower?
The first time I met Coach Bower was on my recruiting visit, and I'll be brutally honest. Friday I got there, Saturday got there, and I'm a New Orleans guy, so they must have known I like to have a good time. So that Friday, Saturday, you meet with Coach Bower on Sunday. I had a really good time, really, really good time. So I'm pretty hungover going to meet Coach Bower on Sunday. I'm like, oh God, why to party so much? But that was the New Orleans in me. Can't stop it back then. I was young. And but I remember him kind of smiling at me and knowing I had a good time. And he was happy I had a good time. And, I didn't give him all the specifics, but, but I remember that meeting. He's going to hate me. I left, but they wound up liking me. And, and I wound up having an unbelievable relationship with Coach Bower. We talk almost weekly now, and don't end a phone call to this day without, I love you. That's how we got ended. I love you, Coach. He loves me back.
And currently, I do want to ask this, a quick follow-up. How is Coach Jeff Bower doing nowadays?
He's doing great. He's he's kind of still this aura around Hattiesburg, the greatest football coach they've ever had. And but he's heavily involved, goes to baseball games. You'll see him and his wife Debbie head to basketball games, football games. I know him and Coach Hall, break things down behind the scenes a lot. So he's involved. He's there. If Southern Miss needs Coach Bauer, it's almost like the bat signal. Here he comes.
That's awesome. So, Marchant, we are up against our first break, and when we come back, we are going to dive specifically into your career there at Southern Miss. That is on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with legendary linebacker for Southern Miss, Marchant Kenney. Are you in need of planning for retirement? Stifel specializes in helping investors like you in your quest to build and manage your wealth, and when the time comes, pass it along to future generations. Stifel can help you plan for retirement, save for college, give to your favorite charity, or leave a legacy for your heirs. Stifel can be contacted at 205-414-3375. Once again, that is 205-414-3375, and their office is located off of Shades Creek Parkway in Birmingham, Alabama. Stifel Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Marchant Kenney, the former linebacker from Southern Miss. And Marchant, before the break, you were talking about your recruitment to Southern Miss, but what was it like the first time taking the field in a Southern Miss uniform for you?
Well, the one that really sticks out to me, there's two I got to give you because I redshirted in '93, and the first road game they let me travel to was Auburn. That was the first, time I'd seen this SEC stuff you'd seen on TV for years. And what's crazy about it, on that Friday night before the Saturday game, we went to see a movie, and the movie was The Program. And you remember Latimer smashing his head. I'm 18 years old, just all Alvin Mack, the linebacker. And then next day, I'm in Auburn Stadium. It was just nuts. We played a great game, lost towards the end. But I remember that moment because it was the Program movie. And then, I'm at Auburn. But the first time I played in the game, I was a backup to start my freshman year in '94. I was going to play a lot. And early in the first half, I'm a New Orleans guy. And our first game of the season is at Tulane in the Superdome. And you talk about a deer in headlights. I mean, I grew up a Saints fan, watching Tulane football for years. And when I ran on that field, it was an out-of-body experience when I got in the game. And that's probably the worst first play in history of linebacker play, because I was just like, I'm in the dome lights playing against the hometown team. But I'll never forget that moment, man. It was literally an out-of-body experience. I don't know how to explain it, man.
So, to cap off the '94 season, Southern Miss went to LSU and knocked off an LSU Tiger football team, even though they were 2-7 at the time. You guys knocked off an LSU SEC football team. What was that experience like for you?
Before I went to Southern Miss, up until I signed with them, I was a die-hard purple and gold Saturday night at Tiger Stadium guy. LSU was everything to me.
Yeah.
So when they didn't offer me, the schedule came out my freshman year, and I said, "You got to be kidding me!" Open at Tulane, but end the season at LSU, and we're 5-5, planning for a winning season. Games tooth and nail. I got a sack in there. I got some pictures right over here I could show you, and been a good game, but. It's 18-17 late in the fourth, less than a minute to play, and we're lining up for a 52-yard field goal to win the game. And I just remember Chris Pierce, ball snaps back, run towards the ball, kick, and I'm watching it from the sidelines. I'm like, oh, it looks good. It's going. Oh my God, he's gonna make it, and we just lost our minds. And I do have a picture that goes around every now and then of me grabbing the flag with Southern Miss, running to the eye of the tiger, and planting it in the eye of the tiger on Saturday night, man. So before Baker Mayfield was doing those things, I did that as a freshman. I'll just say.
So, Marchant, I do have to ask, even though LSU was a 2-7 football team, what was the crowd experience like that evening?
Well, I mean, to be frank with you, I mean, I know what Saturday nights at Tiger Stadium are like when it's electric, packed to the tears. Obviously the fan wasn't as loud experience like that, but back then the lighting system, if you remember Tiger Field, had this kind of like aura mist about it, and it was everything I'd seen on TV when I'd been to games. Now on the field, and you would come out the locker room, Mike the Tiger's right there as you enter the stadium. I mean, it's just, I got the experience. Sure, it wasn't packed. I mean, I think they announced 45,000 at the game or what have you, and but it still felt like Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. There could have been one person in the stands, man. Wouldn't have taken away from our big moment. It's showing the team I grew up on why they should have offered me, man.
That's right. Hey, get that retribution, right?
I don't know what else to do. Now, I hope no Baton Rouge people watch this or listen to this because, I'm knocking at my door. But yeah, it happened. It's just all in fun, fellas.
Right. So, Marchant, I do want to ask you, moving to the 95 season, what were some of your favorite memories of that 95 season?
Well, the 95 season is considered that close. Mm-hmm. We finished 6-5, and we lost 4 games by a total of 10 points. And one of those losses, I still have sleepless, cold sweat nights over it, was against Bama. We're up late. It's 4th and 30, and Kitchens throws up a bomb. It's on YouTube if you want to go watch it. Our defenders get turned around, they catch it, touchdown, Bama. And I know you're looking for some good moments, but it's hard to not mention that. This is Bama stuff over here in this show, but that is the loudest I've ever heard a crowd. They scored, erupted, and my legs buckled, and cried so hard in the locker room after. But what I remember just about the whole span of the season is that close to being 10-1. And we were getting there, making progress to where we needed to be, and it was coming.
Yes. Now, Marchant, I do want to ask you, some of Alabama's non-conference games were up at Legion Field in Birmingham. When you guys played Alabama in 95, was it in Tuscaloosa or Birmingham?
That one was Birmingham. So,
okay.
And that was cool being in that stadium, too, because it got a lot of history, that one.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I've got to ask you this. Going back to your early playing days there, what was your welcome to college football moment?
So what's funny is that my freshman year, welcome to college football moment. I remember watching cartoons as a kid, and you remember, somebody gets hit pretty hard in the head and they see the stars.
Yes.
Those actual cartoon stars. Well, I didn't know what that was. So of all the games, we have a home game against Samford. I'm running down on kickoff team, and I'm like a wild banshee. Forget to put my head on a swivel, which you're taught, the front line guy, they wrap around and you're the guy they block. So I'm running. I'm like, I'm going to make this tackle. And this guy's keying around. He's full speed. Well, he hits me from the side so hard. I go sideways. My head hits first, feet in the air. And I just remember getting up, and those bright lights everywhere. It was a concussion. There's no doubt about it, but I'll make light of it. But that was my welcoming to college football moment of all the big names we played in Samford.
Yes.
And I saw the stars, man. And I'm like, whoa, I head on a swivel when you're on kickoff team from now on, brother. Promise me you'll do that.
So a lot of people probably don't know this, but early on in the 90s, Southern Miss was an independent. And then in 96, you guys made the transition from independent to Conference USA. What was that experience like of going from independent to Conference USA?
The one thing Southern Miss have been lacking in history, despite, it's rich tradition in the 80s and 90s leading up to 96. Let's call it what it is. I mean, we were the best, now they call it group of five, but for a long run, the best group of five programs in Hattiesburg and the best team in the state of Mississippi. Clearly, Ole Miss, Mississippi State is the reason they stopped playing us. But they never had a chance to get a conference championship, and they would have had banners everywhere if so. So finally, we get a chance to put a conference championship banner up with the right to go to the Liberty Bowl back then, which was a big deal. The conference, there weren't so many bowls. It was a big deal, and it was cool. It was at the end of the 95 season, got the announcement, and it was a slick conference back then. It lost a lot of luster over time, but I mean, it was pretty slick. And I love playing East Carolina in that conference. It was a great place to play.
Okay, you just mentioned it. The 96 season, you guys go on the road between the hedges, first game of the year, and upset the Georgia Bulldogs 11-7. Talk about that game versus Georgia between the hedges.
Well, you said kind of perfect. My vibe, the score 11-7. A lot of people who aren't defensive focused would think, dang, that's ugly, that game. No, that was a beautiful game. Of all the games I've ever played in at Southern Miss, that was the most joy I've ever had because we put in this brand new scheme, broke away from a 4-3 in the offseason. Our defensive coordinator, John Thompson, put in this 3-4 blitz crazy scheme. And by the time it was the second quarter, Bobo, the quarterback, and their line had no clue what we were doing. And I mean, Bobo took some hits in that game. I'm surprised. There was one by one of our top linebackers, Cedric Malthaw. He hit him so hard, I thought, is he alive? Like it was just, football's a violent game. Anybody listen, it is. It's a tough game, but it was. By the third quarter, I couldn't wait to get back in the game. They don't know what we're doing. This is awesome. This is not what they're seeing on film. But we were pretty dang good talent-wise, and sure enough, 11-7 final, beautiful score. I'm a guy like 3-2 final scores, And we stole some hedges that day too. We got in trouble. Security kicked us out, but Georgia fans may come knocking at my door now.
So, Marchant, do you still have the hedges or no?
I do, and I got a picture right over here. You see all this little stuff. It goes around here. My wife, awesome, Angela, put all this stuff up. Got them in my mouth, the little heads, a little picture after the game, post game. Georgia fans really going to hate me now.
So, Marchant, we are up against yet another break, and when we come back, we are going to continue to talk about the 96 season with you down there at Southern Miss. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show.
When I tell customers they come in and they want a good ribeye steak, and I give them and I tell them this is going to be good, I'm going to see them the next day, So, my greatest joy is seeing my friends, my neighbors, my family who come in here every day, who spend their hard-earned money with us. Eating something everybody has to do. So, the fact that they come here and do it with us, we really, really appreciate.
South's Finest Meats is celebrating 25 years in business this year, and that was a message from Bill Ferguson, General Manager of South's Finest Meats. Go by there and see them today for the best quality in West Alabama. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. My guest this evening is Marchant Kenney, the former linebacker from Southern Miss who played from 94 through 97. And before the break, we were talking about that game between Southern Miss and Georgia back in 1996, where you guys won 11-7. But later on that season, you guys played at Houston and unfortunately came up just a little bit short and had to stay home during the bowl season. Talk about how that fueled you guys during the off season to get revenge for the next season, and talk about that Houston game, please.
Oh my goodness! Leading up to that game, we're 8-1, top 25 team for a bit, and we were one of the top defensive statistically in every category in America. All the big, I mean, we were killing it. And we go to Houston, and for whatever reason, we forget to play defense. We get out of tackle and lose 56-49, which was completely uncommon. It was like Twilight Zone stuff. It was frustrating. We just couldn't stop them. Every now and then that happens in football. And, wound up losing to a top 5 Florida State team too the next week and finished 8-3. Top 25 most of the season. Beat Georgia on the road. No bowl, though. Only the conference champ went to a bowl. Nowadays 8-3 with something like that, you have a choice of bowl. So that put a big chip on our shoulders because we knew how good we were. And the next season, our slogan was unfinished business. And with Houston circled that the rock for a home game. We could have gone 0-10. We played 11 games back then, but could have gone 0-10 and beat Houston. We'd probably been all right.
Yes. So, Marchant, going into the 97 season, you were named team captain. How did that happen? And looking back, what does that mean to you to be a captain on that football team your senior season?
Yeah, I mean, all conference honors, any third team, All-American, just stuff, Butkus candidate stuff. That's great. But the best award in my life that I could have ever gotten, besides being a great dad and a great husband, but an actual trophy playing ball, was being team captain, because that's your guys who look up to you to the point where that's our leader. And oh man, I get chills thinking about it. And on my Twitter page, I even have the picture of the 4 of us, me, Pat Surtain, Tyrone Bowler, and Latrell Pollard, from taking pictures as captains. But that was everything. I mean, that was just, I was floored. I knew the guys respected me, and I showed everybody love and respect as well. But to be the guy, that was special.
Now, Marchant, we are going to talk about something that happened during that season. Unfortunately, tragedy struck as one of Coach Bauer's daughters died in a car crash during the season. Please describe what that was like of dealing with that tragedy, especially when you guys have to go on the road and play Nevada that week.
Yeah, so that's game 3, the Nevada game. And leading up to that, we opened up at defending national champs Florida on ESPN primetime game. And if we had a little offense, we win that game. And then, we smash Illinois on the road the next week. I'm like, we're good. This is going to be a good season. And but heading into the Nevada game at home, we finally get to play at home. And, during the week leading up to it, we got some just unbelievably awful news because, everybody loved Coach Bauer and respected that man. And the way he treated you and cared about you, heck yeah, we love that man. We got to know, Debbie, his wife. We got to know his 2 daughters, Stephanie and Kristen. And the unfortunate news, that week, Kristen was in a car accident and passed away. And, we had always seen her as like family. The Bauer's like family to us at that point. When I'm a senior, been around 5 years, with my redshirt year almost. And it was devastating. And it became bigger than football at that point. And it wasn't really like winning games. It's like, how can we support Coach Bauer? And that man should have a statue built on campus because he continued to coach that day. And I've talked to him about it. And he said, I needed you just as much as you guys needed me. I needed normalcy. I leaned on you guys, and you guys held me up. And you don't realize what you're doing for him, because it's the worst news you can get when you lose a child. And but we rallied for him, man. We rallied, came out in all black that Nevada game at home, and just I was very salty that day and did everything I could. I knew how to play for Coach Bauer. And devastating news, man. The season became for Coach Bauer even more than us.
So, Marchant, let's go on ahead and transition into something positive, and it is known to Southern Miss fans as the hit. When Patrick Surtain, your teammate, nearly killed a player with a vicious hit there in 97. Walk us through that play as you remember it, please.
I just remember the build up to that Houston game. That was the game we had circled. You know, we played at Tennessee and Peyton Manning, at Alabama as always, at Florida. Those are big games. We wanted to get revenge against Houston, and they were coming to the Rock. Yeah. And we are just manhandling them. I'm not condoning bullying, but, you know, this is football. And one of my ex-linebacker teammates said we bullied them. I'm like, we did. We just did. And so it's late in the game, and we wound up winning 33-0. And they throw a swing pass to a guy in Surtain who became all-pro cornerback 10 years in the NFL, maybe the best cornerback the Dolphins have ever had. He reads it fast, and this is when you could lead with your head. I'll just say he hit this receiver, and the helmet went about 20 yards one way. His teeth went the other way. And I've never seen an environment feel like a gladiator arena, because at that point, people came to see defense. They knew what they were getting. We're going to be nasty bunch, filthy, a little bit at times, teeter on the rules. You know, I break them. You never know. But that was the hit. If you say the hit, yeah, in Southern Miss world, it's Patrick Surtain sending the receiver to the dentist, man, is what it was.
Right. Jeez, man. And how many teeth did he lose? Do you have any idea?
Well, I remember we slow-mode the replay on VHS, and you could see little white things come out. It had to be 2, 3. Had to be. It was a different game back then, man. You know, yes. It was leave with your head stuff. You know, I'm glad the game's safe for now, but
right.
What? Put yourself in 97 is what we did, man. That's what you did.
Now, after that, the Golden Eagles finished the season 6-0 in Conference USA. Talk about that accomplishment, please.
Well, at that point, it becomes so big for Coach Bauer, and they do it for him, and you know, the relationships, the bonds we had built, and our fan base back then, man, they were strong. I mean, we had about 20, 25 that were just, they're going to be there. You know, it's not as big as Bama with 80 and LSU, you know, 90 plus 100 now, but man, the 25 that were at the Rock, sometimes we get up to 30. They loved football. So they loved their Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They loved defense too, it just felt like. And just to finish like that and get the trophy to Conference USA and head to Liberty Bowl was a big deal. And, you know, leading up to that, we had a good time that week, I'll tell you that. A New Year's Eve game too in Memphis.
So going ahead briefly and talk about what it was like playing in the Liberty Bowl versus, was it Pittsburgh?
Yep, Pitt Panthers.
Okay.
So, and leading up to that game, there's a couple stories. So there were 2 games left in the season, and the Big East Conference at that time wasn't going to have a member to play in their teams. So like, oh, shoot. So they're relying on Ole Miss to play with us. And Ole Miss wouldn't play us in the regular season, so they're going to be forced to play us in the Liberty Bowl. I was so fired up for that. I mean, my goodness, you know, because we would have handled them badly that year. You thought that we beat Pitt was bad. It would have been bad. But I asked Coach Bauer to take us out in the 4th quarter, the starters. But Pitt did win their last 2 games, and they wound up being the team from the Big East. And so the hype was huge, and I was team captain for that. And somebody goes, what's your favorite just moment from Southern Miss? And it's got to be entering the Liberty Bowl. So this is before the internet. I didn't know how many people were going to be there, and it was a big deal. You know, this is when bowls were a big deal, especially the Conference Champ Bowl. And I knew people talking about it around Hattiesburg. So I'm coming up the tunnel before the 4 team captains. And as I turn to look up, if you know the Liberty Bowl Stadium, it goes way up to kind of this point almost. And I looked up and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The videos don't lie. Look up on ESPN. There were 25 to 30,000 Southern Miss fans who were going to spend their New Year's Eve cheering on the Golden Eagles. And I was a hype them up, rah-rah guy. I was that guy, but they knew I was. And I just remember, if I could sell this positive energy, I'd be a gajillionaire. So I remember looking up at the stands and everybody's like, and I do like this, get the crowd up. And when I say this shower of energy came on, chills again. I mean, when this shower of positive, just, we love our Golden Eagles. We love you, Marsh. It was cool. And it was no way we were going to lose that day. I mean, there was just no way, even though Lee Corso picked us to lose with his, slogans of not so fast, my friend, and all that back then. So, but yeah, Pitt didn't have a chance at that.
So, Marchant, we were up against our final break, and when we come back, we are actually going to talk about your famous line there in the Liberty Bowl. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. You do not want to miss this famous line from Marchant Kenney coming up next. Welcome back inside of our final segment right here on the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Marchant Kenney, the fiery and electric linebacker from Southern Miss. And before the break, we were talking about the 97 Liberty Bowl game versus Pittsburgh and Southern Miss. And Lee Corso actually picked against Southern Miss, and I believe he said that Southern Miss should not be there. Marchant, you took exception to that. Tell everybody what you said on camera back to Corso when you guys were beating the brakes off of Pitt.
Yeah, so, we're in the hotel watching ESPN, the show, and Corso picks Pitt to beat us, and just a little smack talk to him. Like, is he serious? He hasn't been watching the film, obviously. We're just better than these people, especially on defense. They ain't seen anything like us. So, in a nutshell, it's 41-7 in the fourth quarter. We're up, which wound up being the biggest bowl win of that season by far, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm a loud guy. I love to talk. I'll talk smack, and my career is coming to a close. And I'm just looking for somebody to talk to in the fourth quarter. Starters are out. I'm like, the dad jokes quit working. So let me look, and I see the camera guy, and he seems to be taking a break. I'm like, you're on commercial, huh? Hey, man, when you come back, tell me when you're live. Tell me when we're live. So the video's bounced around 100 times in Southern Miss World or more. And so you hear me, they come back from commercial break, and I'm like, are we live? Are we live? And I bust through my teammates just trying to say, hi, Mom. And Sertan's one of them. He's like, oh, crap, here's Marchant again. And so I point to the camera, hey, Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Tell those boys from up north not to come down south anymore. Not so fast. And then I'll let everybody say, hi, Mom, and I walk off. So, but it's it was the culmination. There may have been linebackers who played better than me in history. There's a list of them, I'm sure, big list. But nobody, I don't know a linebacker that's done that to Lee Corso in a bowl game. Not so fast, my friend.
Hey, Marchant, the only person to talk back to Mr. Headgear himself.
And nothing but respect to Lee Corso. I love that man.
So, Marchant, I do want to ask you, over your entire career playing for Southern Miss, the Golden Eagles always played Alabama extremely tough, as Southern Miss only lost to Alabama by 14 points, 10 points, 4 points, and 8 points during your career. In your opinion, what made those games versus Alabama so close?
Well, the respect factor was awesome at that point because, the fans back then in the 90s when I was playing, they had seen some Reggie Collier, Southern Miss teams, some Brett Favre, Southern Miss teams. They knew what they were up against. And I enjoyed playing there, man. Bama fans were great. You could just tell the respect. Wasn't a lot of smack talk as you're walking on the sidelines. They knew they were in for a fight. And but this is the tradition of Alabama. I mean, it's unmatched in college football, and just to be there, be a part of that. That sometimes that was an out of body experience. And I'm playing against Alabama, a team I've watched for years on TV. It was nuts. And but what I loved about those games is, like I said, not to recap, the fans really had a respect factor for us because back then Southern Miss was the best program, non-SEC by far in the area. And they knew they had to strap it up tight because we were coming to play, especially on defense.
So, Marchant, after your college career, you had the opportunity to go to training camp with the Arizona Cardinals. Walk us through that experience.
Well, I wasn't the fastest linebacker, the highest vertical, stuff like that. I know I made the best of my ability, and I had a chance for an undrafted free agent with Arizona. And then in 3 stories, and cut me off if you can, but I'll get to the gist of them. So there's 3 stories from being with the Arizona Cardinals. This is 98. And the movie Jerry Maguire had just come out a couple years prior, and all the scenes were filmed there. So I'm sitting there shaving after a shower and stuff like that, looking down. I'm like, holy crap, this is right where Tom Cruise told Cuba Gooding Jr., help me, help you. It was just right there. I'm like, it's nuts. Another portion, I get starstruck. I'm a big love celebrity guy. I just am. And so I'd be at practice and trying to focus on my linebacker duties and looking over. I'm like, holy crap, the D-line coach is Mean Joe Green, the guy who gave a Coke commercial kid the jersey. And I'm like, that's our D-line coach. I'm like, focus. And then third up, which is the best thing by far, being a part of that, was I was in the same rookie class as a man that can't get enough love and respect. And my rookie class was Pat Tillman. And the ultimate American. Gave him millions of dollars to serve his country. And I got to know him. And I was fun loving, kind of goofy, still a little bit young, immature, still even at that point. And Pat was a thinker, a hard worker. Even me, I wish I had his motor. He was non-stop. But I got to know Pat Tillman. The other 2 things I said were fun. But number 3 is I am honored to just have known him and got to know what kind of man he was. And he was everything you thought he'd be. And they can't sing enough praise for Pat Tillman.
So, Marchant, I want to go now to present day college football. If you are a linebacker coming out of high school and you had the choice to play for any scheme, any coach, or any football team, who would you pick and why?
Now, we breaking that down by departments or kind of just going by scheme or something? What kind
scheme?
Of scheme?
Yeah, scheme and team.
Well, scheme, I just love kind of blitz crazy schemes. And because that's what we did. And a lot of stuff you see now, we were doing that. It was ahead of its time in 96 when John Thompson implemented that 3-4 blitz crazy scheme. We could adjust, spread off offenses. We could blitz out of it, when you need to cover somebody. So it'd be a blitz crazy scheme.
Right. What about team?
Well, can we just take Southern Miss out of this? Nobody get their feelings hurt.
Yes.
Okay. So if Southern Miss, number 1, everybody got that? But
yes.
Second up, if I could played for any team in America, man, I went to a Catholic school. I was raised in a boys' home by a nun who's Catholic, saved my life after my parents passed away. So I just found a love for Notre Dame football. Yes. And I cried when Rudy got accepted. The 4 horsemen, win one for the Gipper. I can't get enough of that stuff to this day. So Notre Dame, Southern Miss wouldn't have offered me.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And I've got to ask you, because you say that you and Coach Jeff Bauer are extremely close. Marchant, what is your favorite Jeff Bauer story that you can share with us?
So I got a personal one. So the beauty of Coach Jeff Bauer, there's 100+ guys on a team. There's a lot of characters, type A characters to try to, but you still got to fit your speech to each individual. Like what works for some guys is going to work for me. So he knew how to get to me, and this is how it worked for me. To motivate me, you had to either call me names, really get under my skin. That's what got me motivated. So Tulane never offered me, right, which was disgusting to me. And looking back, I still don't get it. Southern Miss was light years better than Tulane in football, but didn't offer me. So every week when we were playing Tulane, it didn't never fail. Coach Bauer sometimes he'd bump me in the shoulder. I'd be walking, doing my thing, going to a meeting. Somebody bumped me in the shoulder. He's like, "Hey," and I'd be like, "Oh, coach, what's up, sir? Yes, sir." He's like, he looked me up and down. He's like, Tulane said you weren't good enough, and he just walk off. And I'm like, I go to practice. I'm like, coach's like, "Calm down." I'm like, "Well, you should have told me all that, man." So, but he knew how to get each player motivated. That worked for me, man. Just challenged me, get under my skin. But he fit his demeanor to everybody, which obviously was in the framework of the team. Yes. Nobody getting out of control. But when he talked, he looked you in the eye. I mean, it was because he was a big deal. It was Jeff Bauer, man. A little starstruck, And so, but unbelievable, man.
Yes. So, Marchant, my final question for you is this. Unfortunately, Southern Miss has not had very much success since the Larry Fedora era down there. If Southern Miss is going to get back to the nasty bunch and what they were known for back in the 90s when you played, what is it going to take, in your opinion?
We need a spark. We really, really need a spark, because it's starting to be a long time ago when some of these, big moments were happening, the real big ones. And but the spark is there, and it's ready to be ignited. Because I've said this on Twitter, I've said this on social media, the Sun Belt that we're in right now, there isn't a team in that conference, not even close, that could match our tradition in that conference. It's not even close. Yeah. So people can say, lower level, they did this. No, at the big level, it's not even close. So this fan base is starving for that.
Yes.
So when a spark happens, which, we had the tragic news of MJ Daniels, and it can just be a rallying cry to really ignite some just feelings that we're back, and we're doing this for MJ. It just feels like this is a time to do it. It's this year or bust. And when that spark does happen, I really feel it is going to happen. Then look out, Sunbelt. I've just said that. Look out, because Will Hall's got a great culture. You cannot, wins and loss, cannot question the culture he's built. And once that spark happens, whatever that is, we got a chance at Kentucky to open up the season. If that spark happens early, man, look out.
Yes.
Look out. And because there's a fan base starving for those days of Reggie Collier, and Favre, our nasty bunch, just some of the things we used to do. And so it's going to start rolling, and it's going to get ugly for the Sun Belt.
And the last thing I will say, Marchant, is you are correct. That fan base is extremely passionate. Just look at the college baseball fans there for Southern Miss.
Oh, yeah. No, that baseball program that we have right now, I mean, number one in the nation with 40-plus consecutive win seasons, number one in the nation with 30-plus consecutive win seasons. Have been Omaha like we want, but that's a hard thing to do. Everything's got to fall in place, but that baseball program's special right now. But it's made, I know, basketball and football, we got to get there.
Yeah.
Got to get there.
So, Marchant, look, man, I really do want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join me. The floor is all yours for any final words that you would like to say to the Southern Miss Nation or to the people up here in Tuscaloosa.
Well, me personally, the Southern Miss experience I've had has just been absolutely unbelievable. And I'll wear my emotions on my sleeves. And everybody knows how I feel usually when I got something to say. And, I love everything Southern Miss that they've done for me, and it just fit me like a glove. So always thank you any chance I can do that to the Southern Miss world. And just the relationships I made are incredible. But just hold on to faith in this program. Trust me, there is a tremendous sense of urgency. Coach Hall knows this is the year it has to happen. It can't be next year. It is here. And now, if they don't throw the kitchen sink even in some games where they need to, give them one more chance. Give them 2024. Yes. I'm going to say you won't be disappointed. Give us this year. And if we don't, go along your way. Go back to what you got to do. Give us this year. One chance.
So, Marchant, look, man, as always, thank you. We would love to catch up with you during the season to get your take on college football. Have a wonderful rest of the summer, and we will catch up with you later on.
Stingray, back at you. Always a pleasure with the legendary Stingray, man. So have a great day. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you, Mud.
All right, my man.
So, guys, that is going to wrap up yet another electric interview right there on the Stingray Show with Marchant Kenney. We hope that you have thoroughly enjoyed it. When we come back on the Friday evening edition of the Stingray Show, we're going to play for you a very special show. So that is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. right here on Tide 100.9. The Stingray Show is out, and I will see you guys right back here tomorrow evening.